Hey guys, I just wanted to come on one more time as the sun is setting over this absolutely amazing view. I kind of rushed up here. um, I was getting myself some supper and I rushed back and I actually found like the perfect spot to sit, like just as the sun was setting. Um, The main thing I want to talk to you about is following your intuition. Okay, so I did not follow my intuition for a lot of years. And because I didn't follow my intuition for a lot of years, I kind of got smacked in the face by, um, well, the divine. Like, hello, listen to what we're telling you. And like, I saw things coming, but the red flags all along the way. And I just was like, oh no, it's just anxiety. It's just stress. It's just trauma boiling back up onto the surface. So yeah, that happens. And it's okay to, you know, check with yourself. Okay. If you feel like there's a problem, maybe meditate on it. That to me sounds like a confirmation. The way that you feel in a situation. So, for example, like one of the things that they talk about in the book, The Body Keeps a Score, I will remember who wrote that book and I will put it in the description because it's a very good book for anybody who is recovering from trauma. But one of the things they talk about in The Body Keeps a Score is the alarm signals in the amygdala. When you have PTSD or you go through a significant amount of trauma throughout your life, you tend to have a false alarm signal that goes off in situations when you're safe. And then you have no alarm signal that goes off in situations that are unsafe. Okay. So, this is an extremely important thing to be able to differentiate between the two. Okay. So, for example, yesterday I was traveling and I felt in the pit of my stomach that there wasn't something right. And so I followed my intuition and I made sure to lock the door, double lock, and make sure that I was, protecting myself and my children. And I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning with a very, very, very like uncomfortable feeling in my chest. And I know that feeling. That feeling for me tells me that something is wrong. Okay. And so I meditated on it and I still had that problem like for until the next morning, actually. But I knew that there was something wrong. And as I continued to listen to myself, it was actually something that was bothering me. And it was something that I needed to release. So I meditated, called my guides, I asked for help, and within a couple of minutes, I was able to go back to sleep because I realized that it was something that was bothering me, but it wasn't necessarily my outside situation. So in that moment, I realized that that wasn't necessarily my intuition, but my trauma. Okay. Now, on the other hand, I I have that feeling that I met a person today and I was talking to them and I had that feeling that something just wasn't right. That the words that were coming out of their mouth didn't quite make sense. And so I grabbed my tarot deck and I only pulled 3 cards because the 3 cards that I pulled were all very blatantly clear. This is not a person to be messing with. So I made excuses and left. And like the more we had the more the conversation that we had, the more that made perfect sense. Like the things that they were saying led me to ask questions like, "Are you a narcissist?" Well, I used to be. Oh, okay. All right. Do you have addiction? Are you in recovery? Well, and the answers were very not clear. And then he asked me out, and I was like, oh no, I'm sorry. I'm taken. And so, like, I made sure not to hurt his feelings. I said, I have a higher path, and I am, you know, celibate. I am taken for a good reason. And I saw all of the signs, and I followed my intuition, and I left. And I made sure that I did not stick around in the area that I was going to be visiting again here, so that, and I waited until the person left to make sure that I did not cross paths with that person again. So follow your intuition, because, you know, and I actually, I'm really excited about that, because like, I had actually had a conversation with the divine yesterday, and I asked, I said, you know, I want to make sure that I am fully aware of the people that come into my path. So is there some way that you can, like, you know, say, hey, because I'm a very trusting person. I am. I do not believe in the sins of the father fall on the children. I don't believe that. I don't believe that the sins of the people of my past should be brought onto the next person. But I'm kind of a people person, and I am also a former therapist who can pick up on a lot of signals and signs. And I pay quite a bit of attention to a lot of things that people wouldn't normally pay attention to. And I actually asked the divine to, like, maybe like pull in my ear or something. Well, while I was talking to this person, my ear started really itching. And I was like, oh, okay, which is why I pulled out my deck, and I pulled out 3 cards, and those 3 cards were all in the reverse, and all of them were not very good. And I was like, that's why, and I asked the question, are you a narcissist? And then I gave him advice. I told him to get out of the ego mind, get into the heart space. And then I asked 2 more questions. I said, what is the first thing that a narcissist needs to do in order to heal? And he's like, realize there's other people in the world. I'm like, that's a very good answer. But I'm going to tell you this. It's learn what empathy is. If you can't learn what other people feel, you'll never be able to heal. And then I asked one more question. I said, so is it your past you're running from? Or is it your future you're running to? And he couldn't give me an answer on that one. So those 2 questions right there were like my signal of GTFO, man. So it's okay to meet new people and to get to know them. But it is also perfectly okay to listen to that gut feeling that tells you this person is not meant to be in my path. And pay attention to the signs, guys. Can't tell you that enough. Pay attention to the signs. Your intuition is important. And the more you listen to it, the more you'll be able to understand it. The more you'll be able to go, oh yeah, that was a huge sign. That's a huge thing you can do too. Look in the past, not with pain, with objectivity, like I've said before, okay? Go back with third-party view, okay? Mile-high view, if you will. And analyze the entire relationship you had with that particular person who hurt you. Look for the signs. Look and go, oh yeah, that was a huge sign. I never even picked up on it. That way, this is how we transmute energy, right? This is how we heal. This is how we make it our superpower. That way, now, next time we hear those particular words, like, I really regret the way that I treated you and I took you for granted. Okay. All right. So, okay. Or it will never happen again. The 3rd time. Or if you're like me and you have a 3-strike rule and you allow them to blow past strike number 3, that's a big thing that you should probably go, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that, regardless of how charming that person was, okay? Because charm does not equal love, people. Charm does not equal love. Charm, I'm going to say it again, does not equal love. Just because they're charming doesn't mean they have your best interest at heart. I would like to point your attention to a lot of the convicted serial killers. How many people around them were like, "Oh, I had no clue. They were always so charming." And rule number one, narcissist is almost always super freaking charming. They always know the exact right thing to say. And that's where we're going to leave this. I hope you guys have a great evening. Bye-bye.